Can I reinstate a dissolved LLC? My name is Andrew Ayers. I'm a business law and estate planning attorney with offices in Edina, Minnesota, and New York City. Today we're going to look at 7 steps that you can take to reinstate your dissolved LLC. Now, it may or may not come as a surprise to you that a lot of times when I deal with this issue in my practice, it's actually in conjunction with an estate plan and or the probate of somebody's estate. And the reason is we often find that somebody who is running a business, let's say an LLC, and then they become sick and or die, may not have kept up on all the filings that's required for their LLC. So we'll talk about one of my clients who was located out in New York. And this client owned a building in the city, and the building had apartments in it. The building had a store at the base level. They collected rent. There was all kinds of money available and going through this LLC, and it operated for years upon years upon years. But what they found when this person died was that they hadn't kept up their filings with the state of New York, and actually New York had dissolved the company 7 years earlier. So when we started working on the estate, and we're working actually on the estate plan for the next generation of the family who wanted to know what they should be doing with the building, the first thing we needed to do was go back and get this LLC reinstated. Because technically the LLC is the owner of the building, not the family who had actually frankly owned it since the 1930s. Instead, it was an LLC that was set up that needed to be reinstated, and that's where this process overlapped with the estate planning and the probate. So when we're looking at a situation like that, we need to get this company or this LLC reinstated, we run into 7 steps. Now, the key to these 7 steps that you need to keep in mind is that there is no automatic time period for how long this will take. As we'll see, each step can have a different amount of work that you're going to have to do, but until all 7 steps are done, your LLC or your company may not be reinstated. Step number 1, look at your state requirements. So you need to look to the state and figure out what is required to reinstate that LLC. So in most states, what's going to happen is they're going to make sure that you file any back fees. If you haven't paid taxes, if the LLC got dissolved and has not paid taxes, you're going to have to pay all those taxes. And that can be one of the biggest hurdles in this entire process, is if you owe, for example, like my client with the building in Brooklyn, then you've got 7 years of taxes you have to make up and get paid, and that can be a lot of money. So you gotta look and see what the state says you have to do to reinstate your LLC. Step number 2, file the appropriate forms. So in case your business needs to be reinstated by paying taxes, you pay the taxes, you show the state that the taxes have been paid, and you usually fill out a form asking for reinstatement. Step number 3, address any other compliance issues. So this goes back to if we haven't paid our annual fees, if we haven't paid our taxes, if we haven't registered with the local authorities, whatever it may be, make sure we have all of our compliance issues all wrapped up and taken care of as part of the reinstatement process. And again, this can be another step where things can slow down because you're going to be depending upon your state or your local authority to give you permission once all the compliance issues have been met. So don't just assume you can get this done tomorrow. Number 4, you're dealing with a government entity. So what are they always going to want? They want their fees. So to reinstate your company, I guarantee you there will be some kind of a fee you have to pay to somebody to reinstate that company. So make sure as part of this process, and number 1, we're researching the requirements, we're paying any back taxes, we're paying any back registrations that are needed, but then we're also likely going to have to pay a reinstatement fee. Step number 5, submit your supporting documents. So the state's not just going to assume that you've caught up on everything, they're going to want to see copies of all of this. If you're dealing with taxes that were not paid, make sure the accountant makes lots of copies of those tax returns because a lot of different people will want to see them. If you've made payments with the state for back annual fees or other fees that were due or to some local authority, keep copies of all your payment receipts because you will likely need to submit them as well to show the state that you're up to date on all your filings. Number 6, the toughest part of the process, it kind of pervades through all these different steps, you then have to await for approval. So even if you've done everything here, you've done all your homework, you've filed all the documents, you've paid all the fees, paid the back taxes, paid whatever else was owed, you're still going to come to this waiting game. Government never moves quickly in these divisions. There's hardly ever an emergency that gets them to move fast, so you're going to end up waiting. And if this is something that needs to be done by the end of the year, don't start this process on December 28th. You're probably not going to get it done by the end of the year. Start it as soon as possible. Work with your accountant. There can be a lot of work involved before you get to this step where everything is filed and you're waiting on the state. And then the final step, everything's back up and running. Your LLC, your company's been reinstated. Make sure you update all the government records. We probably need to update new registered agents. We need to update new members, new managers, whatever needs to be on file with the state, especially if this was a company that was in somebody's estate and going through probate. We want to make sure that once the company is up and running, that the appropriate people are listed as the point people with the state. Because after this is all done, you're probably going to have ongoing requirements of things that need to be filed, and the state needs to have the right people to send all the notices to so that the company gets notice of what has to be filed. So as you can see, there's 7 steps, and they can take a bit of work, but it's also important you're working with the professionals here. Work with your attorney to make sure we've got all the documents that need to be filed with the state. If you owe back taxes, we want to make sure we're working with an accountant who knows what they're doing and can help you get this set up. You don't want to go to your cousin who dabbles with tax on the side when you're dealing with a situation like this. You want a good accountant who knows how to do corporate tax returns. If you're not sure what to do next, or if you're ready to get started and we want to work through these 7 steps, you can go to my website, andrewmayers.com. There's a red legal strategy session button on the front page. You can click it and you'll be taken to my calendar where we can set up a 15 or 20 minute phone call to discuss where your company is in the process, and if it needs to be reinstated, we can get going on these 7 steps. If you found this video helpful, you can hit that like button or the thumbs up. You can go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. You can share it to your friends on social media. And hopefully, if you're in this situation and we need to get an LLC reinstated, these 7 steps will help you get started. And please know the professionals are here to help you and guide you through that process.